All right, good morning. Thank you all for coming. As of yesterday, we were retained to represent the family, Chloe's parents, regarding this tragedy that happened on the Royal Caribbean ship. This was a preventable tragedy. The story that we're all hearing out there is not the full truth, and the family has retained me to do my best to set the record straight and let the public know what actually happened on that ship that day that led to this tragic loss. I'm sure you guys have a ton of questions, so feel free to ask away.
What happened?
Sure. So family vacation. They're in the kids' play area. This is they call it the H2O zone. It's the water park on the ship, where we've had several cases in the past where kids drown in those. You know, we were the ones that represented all the families of all those kids that fought for years to put lifeguards in the ships, and we were successful in doing that. And I know you all covered a lot of those stories. But so the grandfather is with Chloe, who's 18 months old. They're playing in the play zone, and there's this wall of all windows. It's all glass windows. And the grandfather thought that it was entirely glass. And Chloe, they're from Indiana, she was a huge hockey fan, and she loved to go watch her older brother play in hockey games, and she used to love to bang on the glass. And you've probably seen the photo by now of her actually banging on the glass at one of her brother's hockey games. So her dad, they're in the H2O zone. He takes over to the grandfather, takes him over to the windows. He thinks it's all glass. There's a wood railing right there. He puts her up on there thinking that she's going to bang on the glass and it's going to be great. And she goes to bang on the glass, and the next thing he knows, she's gone.
You said this was a preventable injury. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. What was preventable here was, really, I think Royal Caribbean needs to answer this question, is why would you ever, in a kid's play area, put windows that passengers can open? I mean, we've all had that experience where someone walks into a glass sliding door thinking it's not there. This is the inverse of that. And it was reasonable for Sam, the grandfather, to think that this was all glass, because from his perspective, it was all glass. I know this is the Freedom of the Seas is an older ship. This is a ship from 2006. I know the newer ships do not have the same configuration where passengers cannot open those windows. So clearly this is a hidden danger, and this is not something that's really, this is a tragic accident that was preventable, but this is the kind of thing that does happen. In other words, there are a number of deaths every year from kids going out of windows that are left open, etc. In some ways it draws parallels to the Eric Clapton incident so many years ago with his child that was lost way too early. So that's why I think it was preventable.
So windows on cruise ships are a problem?
Generally, windows on cruise ships are certainly not a problem. I think when you put them in a kids area where passengers can open them, that where they're in a wall of windows creates a hidden danger, unless you warn about it. How about a warning? How about a sign? How about something? How about sometimes you can put a sticker on a window so that you know that something's there. Windows in general, not a problem. Windows, I think, are a requirement on cruise ships for people to enjoy themselves. But when you put it in a kids' play area, you got to do something to let people know that these can be open so that things like this don't happen.
But aren't those windows, I've been on this ship or ships, and they're waist high approximately
Yes.
for an adult.
Yeah.
And they do slide, that entire 11th floor does, the option is to slide.
Sure.
But aren't they also slightly tinted so you can see the difference? An adult
Sure.
should be able to notice the difference between a tinted window
Sure.
and it slid open.
Sure. I haven't had an opportunity to inspect the vessel yet, so I haven't seen that. I know the photos that I've seen, you basically see a wall of windows that look the identical color. So I do think it's reasonable that someone could think that there was an entirety of glass.
Okay.
But I completely understand your point.
Following up on that then, an adult holding a child, putting it on as you described, on a wooden banister, the glass, if she was going to pound on it, would be maybe 6 inches or less.
Sure.
At 11 stories up, he couldn't tell that there wasn't glass less than one foot
Sure.
away from him?
The opportunity that I had to speak with Sam was having one of the harder conversations I've ever had as an attorney. He was literally telling me the story through tears, and he literally thought there was glass there. And he thought that she was going to bang on the glass like she was at a hockey game, like she loved to do with her brother. Clearly he was wrong. Clearly it was a terrible tragedy, and I think it could have been prevented. I think it's still very early, so there's probably more questions that need to be answered.
Would some of the suggestions are that there could be the authorities could be looking at negligence. Would the fact that he put her on there to begin with, I mean, would that not be seen as something that probably wasn't the best thing to do?
If there was glass there, I don't have any reason to see why that would be something unreasonable. I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, so I've got basically 2 toddlers. I put them up on things all the time. If they knew that there was a risk, I mean, if this was the Michael Jackson story where Michael Jackson's hanging the baby out there, clearly the parent is negligent, no question about it. But here, if you have a wall of glass, I don't think it's unreasonable to put a child there thinking that there was glass there.
But he was less than a foot away from it. You're 4 or 5 feet away from glass wall. How could he not tell? Could he not feel the wind?
Sure.
Could he not hear anything? You're 11 stories up. That's pretty high up on
Sure.
one of these things.
Sure.
Were there no other exterior environmental things that were telling this man that there's no glass here?
Sure. Those are great questions. I don't know the answers to those questions. Again, I've had one conversation with Sam, and it was an incredibly tearful conversation. You could imagine how he feels. And he was literally crying, saying, I thought it was like she was at a hockey game. I thought it was like she was at a hockey game.
How is the family doing?
Oh, terrible. Terrible. They're still in Puerto Rico. They're wanting to get out of Puerto Rico. They're waiting for them to release Chloe, the body, to them to go. But they're at the police station now. It's troublesome for them because I think there are language barriers. They're working with an attorney down there to talk to them, to help them deal with that process. But as you would imagine, you know, terrible is probably the euphemism of the year to describe how they're doing. And Sam, the grandfather, hasn't eaten, is barely talking. It took a lot of prodding for me to even have a conversation with him.
Have you spoken to authorities there in Puerto Rico about where those initial reports came from about the child being held outside of the window? Do you know where that originated?
I don't. I've had no conversations with the only people that we've had conversations with are Royal Caribbean. I know there's a conversation going on right now between one of my partners in Royal Caribbean. I know there's video of the incident. We're asking for them to immediately release the video to us so we can take a look at it to see what happens. We all know there's video cameras all over those ships, and of course, you know, video is worth 1,000 words, so probably 10,000 words, but.
You mean surveillance video from the ship?
Correct,
Okay.
yeah, in that
Not
area
like
on that deck.
Other passengers might have videotaped it.
No,
or-
correct,
And
right
the
above there.
Does the family have any video or pictures of the incident?
Of the incident itself, no. There are some photos that when the dad was back there later that night that I'm happy to share with you. Just come chat with me afterwards, and I'm happy to do that.
Do you have
Of the area, yes.
Do you
Yeah.
have photos of Chloe, of the family, of,
I do, and we'll send you all this. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Whatever. Just come get me afterwards.
Also, being that it was on a cruise ship, lots of times on cruise ships there's alcohol. Do we know if there was alcohol involved at all in any of this?
There was absolutely no alcohol involved. Sam is not a drinker.